السلام عليكم. رمضان كريم. تقبل الله منا ومنكم صالح الأعمال. Today's lecture is about a subject that is somewhat underrated, so to speak. The da'wah ila Allah, to do da'wah and try to present Islam in the best possible way. Al-amr bil-ma'ruf wal-nahi an al-munkar is something that is fard ayn. We have something that our scholars call fard ayn and something that is called fard kifaya. Fard ayn is something that every Muslim has to do. And fard kifaya is something that if we have enough people or some people that do it, then you really don't have to do it. For example, to go to a demonstration for a good cause. If other people, do it, then they will pretty much cover for you. But a da'wah ila Allah is something that everybody has to do. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَالْعَصْرِ إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لَفِي خُسْرٍ إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ. Allah takes an oath by the time, wal-asr, and He says humans are on the losing side except those that tawasaw bil-haqq wa tawasaw bil-sabr, those that ya'muru bil-ma'ruf, in other words, wa yanhawna an al-munkar wa yatawasaw bil-sabr, and they are patient, because that really is the way that you present the real Islam. A lot of people, when they start talking about Islam, they the first thing that they talk about is salah and how many rak'ah and how many days do you fast in Ramadan, and all of these things are obviously part of our deen, but these are sha'air. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَمَنْ أَحْسَنُ قَوْلًا مِمَّنْ دَعَا إِلَى اللَّهِ وَعَمِلَ صَالِحًا وَقَالَ إِنَّنِي مِنَ الْمُسْلِمِينَ. The best qawl is not necessarily just to say something. It's the saying it and doing it. That's what the qawl is. مِمَّنْ دَعَا إِلَى اللَّهِ. You tell people about the right path, about the sirat al-mustaqim, about the qiyam, about the values, and عَمِلَ صَالِحًا, and you do good. And you say that you are, a Muslim, obviously. But first you do before you say. You see, Allah qaddam al-amal ala al-qawl. And it's important to really remember what Sayyidina Umar ibn Abdul Aziz said. He said, خير الدعوة دعوة الصامتين. The best da'wah is for those that don't speak. And his friends or his assistant said, وَكَيْفَ ذَلِكَ? And how is that? He said, بِأَخْلَاقِكُمْ, with your manners and values. That's how you do the best da'wah possible. You don't know how many people, become Muslim, not necessarily because somebody was, so convincing and so good in presenting the argument for the deen, and because he or she is articulate. No, they just saw somebody that behaves well, and they asked, why is it that you do this? And they found out later that it's because of the values that he lives by, and those values are from the teachings of his or her religion. There are so many examples that I would love to give. One of them is the da'wah of the merchants from Yemen that used to go to Southeast Asia, and countries ended up becoming Muslim because of their honesty. So the best way that you can actually do da'wah is with al-akhlaq wal-amal al-salih. If you are ameen, if you are honest, if you are a respectful person, if you help people and people find out later that you are Muslim, they will definitely become more interested in knowing about Islam than if you were to give them 100 books or if you were to give them 100 lectures. So, it's important that we realize that with our manners, we can do more for our deen than with just salah, because salah, is something fardi. I mean, we sometimes have what's called a sahwa al-islamiyya during a certain period of time. And you see people that say, oh, mashallah, so many women became muhajjabat and so many guys are going to Salat al-Fajr now. And, that is great, but, has the corruption and the lying and the stealing and all the afat, all the problems that our Muslim societies tend to have, especially nowadays, are they going away with the Sahwa al-Islamiyya? If they're not, then it really makes no difference. Allah says, وَالْعَصْرِ إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لَفِي خُسْرٍ, because people are two types. You have those that just consume the time in wasting it, and those that invest the time. So unless you are one of those that invest the time, إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ, so you have to invest your time in doing da'wah in the right way, because sometimes people will find it too late to do da'wah, and Allah says في كتابه الكريم قال رب ارجعون لعلي أعمل صالحا فيما تركت, because العمل الصالح, and he didn't say رب ارجعون لعلي أصلي, which is important. Again, I don't want people to misunderstand me, but I'm just trying to compare the sha'air with the qiyam, with the values. The values are more important, because when Allah started the whole human nafkhat al-ruh wal-ansana, and for al-bashar to become insan with the ma'rifah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that He's ja'alun fil ardi khalifa, and the Rusul after that, Sayyidina Nuh and Sayyidina Hud and Sayyidina Salih, and going all the way to Sayyidina Ibrahim, there was no salah, there was no sha'air. It was more about da'wah ilallah, tawheed, al-amal al-salih, because that is really critical that we understand that with the da'wah, you want to be as much caring about as-suluk, about the way you present it, as you would be about anything else, and possibly more than the sha'air, as I said. In Luqman, in Surah Luqman, على لسان سيدنا Luqman, talking to his son, he says, يا بني أقم الصلاة وأمر بالمعروف وانهى عن المنكر واصبر على ما أصابك إن ذلك من عزم الأمور. So one of the critical pieces of advice that you give to your children and to yourself, obviously, is to إقامة الصلاة والأمر بالمعروف والنهي عن المنكر and الصبر, because those are عزم الأمور. Those are the most difficult of things, because those are what differentiate the good Muslim from a Muslim who just understands the superficial meaning of Islam. There are a lot of people that sometimes care about things in our religion, especially when they're dealing with their children, or when they're dealing with people who are converts into Islam, or reverts, as some people like to call them. They focus on really the things that are not as essential as the qiyam, al-amr bil-ma'ruf wal-nahy an al-munkar. Al-munkar is what ankarahu al-mujtama', what society abhors, what society does not find to be really proper. And you'll be surprised, because a lot of the things that society in general finds to be improper, munkar, are the things that religion finds to be munkar. That's why birr al-walideen is ma'roof, huquq al-walideen munkar. Doesn't matter what society you live in. These things are important, because when you start your conversation with somebody through being an example, that's how you can convince them. That's one. And two, if you talk about things, try to focus more about the values more than you start, discussing, sha'air and how to dress and whether you should have a long beard and not have a long beard. All these things are really secondary, and these are not what differentiate a real Muslim or a good Muslim from a Muslim who has not reached that level of understanding for what their role should be as a Khalifa. So I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us ilm, to give us knowledge, and to help us benefit from that knowledge. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.